Okay, so prompt number 10. You each hear a soothing artificial voice in your mind while traveling through deep space in cryostasis within the vessel Chimera. The ethereal voice is the spaceship's automated life support, also known as Alice. It repeats a single protocol. Alert! Imminent danger! Our data system requires you to share one story about Frankie. Frankie is one of your fellow sleeping passengers. This is, indeed, a strange request, but you decide to follow Alice's instructions without question. Quote, always trust the machine, the saying goes. You now find yourselves within a collective consciousness without Frankie. You can see and hear each other as you share stories with Alice. What memory do you share within your mind? So the play variants here is for the lyric and for the coda, whoever's the lyricist, will be writing your lyrics down as data entry notes from the perspective of Alice. And then after the coda, we're going to choose a player at random to act as Alice and then randomly resolve the mystery scenario that we're blindly walking into. So we don't know what scenario is going to be justified at the end. We just know that we need to provide Alice a story. It may or may not be interpreted good or malicefully post-game.
So instead of a poem or a song, we're doing like ship's log notes. And there is not a toast at the end of each story?
We're still doing a toast because we're still like collectively in each other's consciousness, like talking these stories. And so someone will give a toast to the story. But whoever's doing the lyric is doing it in the perspective of Alice.
Okay.
Does anyone want to volunteer to be the first player?
Yeah, I can start us off this time.
You can start off the game by reciting the quote at the top of the scenario, as Alice has asked you to provide the story.
Okay, Alice, if it's for the sake of the mission, I would like to recount a story of when Frankie and I, back on Earth, we were invited to work at a horror film festival. We had both just moved to Chicago. We were very young. And Frankie, he's not actually someone I really got along with, but here we are, stuck in space, I suppose. And Frankie got it in his head that he really wanted to dress up as sort of an army man. And I don't know how that fits into a horror thing, but I was like, well, I'm definitely going as a vampire. So what I'm wearing is tight leather pants, boots, face painted white, fangs, hair slicked back and dyed black. It was a very good look as for
okay, late 90s vampire.
Correct. I was lost boysing all over the town. And Frankie is dressed in all camo, huge like combat boots, and he just went down to Chinatown and had bought one of those like black wooden samurai swords that he wanted to carry around. And we didn't know Chicago, and we went out into this no-name theater that a friend was hosting a horror film festival at. And we had no idea what neighborhood we were in. But it turns out on our walk home, we were not in the kind of neighborhood you want to be walking through dressed in camo with a long black, what looks like a gun. And so a car pulled up, and about 4 dudes got out, and like, what the fuck are you doing? And Frankie says, and I said, oh, we're coming back from this film festival. Sorry, we a little turned around. And that's when one of the guys puts a gun in Frankie's face, who peed himself, and then just sort of shut down. And then the gun got put in my face and said, what are you guys doing? And I said, well, we're going to come back from this horror film festival. Okay, give me that thing in your hand. And Frankie gives over this long black sword. He's like, it's just a wooden sword. And then one of the dudes in the back is like, all right, cool. Definitely rob these guys. To which I responded, stupidly, I'm a college kid. I don't have any money. As I'm in whiteface, in all leather, with fangs on. And eventually the guy with the gun was like, all right, you guys need to get the fuck out of here. and they let us go. And Frankie never, I tell this story all the time. Frankie never spoke of it again.
Wow. Yeah, what was he going for?
I think he just liked army men shit.
Was it an Aliens reference or like?
No, it was nothing. I think he owned a bunch of camo and just bought this sword in Chinatown and was like, I got this.
This is my costume.
Well, to Frankie and his bravery.
To Frankie.
Here.
Looks good in
Okay. Well, Alice, I guess the only story that I can really think of that's worth sharing is when Frankie and I were studying together in college. We were in our psychology class and we were learning all about positive conditioning and Pavlov conditioning and all that stuff. And I remember one time we knew each other really well. We would invite each other to each other's like family parties and things like that. So I went over to Frankie's, one of his family Christmas party. All of his family was there. I went over, and that's when I discovered he was just sort of the leader of his cousins in terms of, I guess, trying creative stunts when they're bored, I guess. He'll come up with weird, wacky ideas for all of them to do, because that's just kind of what he did. And all the college kids and high school kids, were all in the basement hanging out, and he talks about what he's learning in college to his cousins about his Pavlov conditioning, and he says, we should try it on Elliot. I'm like, who's Elliot? He's like, he's our youngest cousin. He's like 6 years old.
Poor Elliot.
And then so he comes up with this idea. It's like, oh, bring him down here. And Frankie had us all sit at this table, like completely around the table, except for this one little opening where Elliot was going to come in. We brought him down. Frankie puts like this piece of grape, this single grape on the center of the table. So we look at him, and Frankie's there, and he goes to Elliot. He's like, okay, Elliot, this is really simple instructions. You see that grape? And then Elliot just like, Frankie goes, grape. And then Frankie smashes the grape, and everyone goes, yay, and cheers and applause. Mm-hmm. And then we take the old grape out, we put a new one. And then Frankie points to the grape, and he goes, okay, Elliot, grape. And then there's this silence, and Elliot kind of looks around, looks at the grape, and kind of hesitantly like smashes the grape, and everyone's like, yay, and cheers. And he's like, oh, okay. Elliot's like, this is kind of cool. I don't know what's going on with this. I like it. And then so we put up another grape, and then Frankie goes, okay, let's try again. Elliot, grape. And then he smashes it. Yay, we all cheer. And then we switch it out with a cracker. So Frankie puts a cracker in the center, and he goes, grape. And then he looks at us, looks at the thing, and smashes the cracker. And everyone's like, hooray! And then Frankie decided this was a really good idea to start doing this as pranks within the family, because he started just pointing on like aunties and uncles and things like that. And he goes, hey, Elliot, grape. And he would just run over and go, bam! Just like punch him in the knee or something. And we're like, what is going on? Just like complete confusion and chaos because of Frankie. We were like, oh, this stuff that we're learning is real. We could totally just program this kid. So, a leader in science, Frankie was.
Oh, man. Yeah, to Frankie, the ringleader. and to Elliot, because he deserves it.
Elliot went through the ringer, it sounds like.
How's Elliot doing these days? You got a report back, or?
Haven't heard from him. He joined some sort of mercenary service and haven't heard from him in like 20 years.
He looked in the mirror and said grape, and it was all over.
Okay, Alice, so my story is a little, a little less fun, I guess. So I was in Frankie's wedding party. Frank and I were really good friends when he was getting married to someone that he's now divorced from. And the whole lead up to the wedding was great, right? Like, I was there when Frankie tried his suit on, and it looked good, and everyone was so excited, and it was just like a great time. And they had like picked the perfect venue, and the ceremony was fine and great, and like people were crying, and I like got to be one of the witnesses and like sign the little paper and stuff, like the marriage license. And then we get to the reception, and like with traditional weddings, like bridal party and like groomsmen and all of that are presented, and then the bride and groom come out last, and then you do like all the like the first dance and all that stuff, and then people can like eat, and there's like a whole like cadence to a wedding ceremony, right? So we're all getting ready, like after taking pictures between the ceremony and the reception, we're all like getting ready to do like our little bridal party thing where we like go out and like hype everybody up, right? I was the maid of honor, so we go out, and I'm like the last one going out with the what's the groom's person called? Best man, the best man.
I think it was groom's person.
The groom's person.
Pretty sure it's best boy.
And
the electric department.
We're all waiting, and then bride and groom just don't come out.
Ooh.
They just don't come out. Everyone kind of like, we're just like, oh, like they're just taking more pictures, whatever, it's fine, they're gonna be here in a minute. So everyone kind of like finds their seats, like schmoozing, like 45 minutes goes by, and everyone's like, what the fuck's going on? Like, can we start eating? Like, are we gonna do any dances? What's going on here? His wife shows up. And she's fine, and she's just talking to everybody, and she like kind of is going around to like all the old aunts and the like grandmas, and schmoozing as one does at their own wedding. And then I realized like something's wrong. Like, where is Frankie? Why hasn't Frankie been found in over an hour? Like, everyone's getting hungry, we're like ready to go. So I start looking for Frankie, and I'm like wandering the halls, and I like see Frankie's mom and grandma, and I'm like, hey, have you guys seen Frankie? And they're like, no, we were hoping you'd seen Frankie.
Oof.
And I was like, nope, haven't. So we're all checking like rooms and going down all these random hallways, definitely going in places we are not supposed to be. And eventually I find Frankie in a closet, just not doing very well, thinking that maybe he made a big mistake and didn't really realize the commitment that he was making. So it took a little coaxing, but I was like, Frankie, like, you've been with your wife for like 8 years, you're best friends, you love each other, you guys are so good together, like this person's so good to you, and like I know that you love them, and I like this was something that you talked about like wanting, so are we gonna do this or are we not? And Frankie's like, okay, yeah, let's go, let's do it. So finally coerce Frankie to go out and be with his wife, and finally the couple is presented to everybody, and the wedding goes on without a hitch. It was a super, super fun wedding. And now Frankie and wife are divorced. So
the pep talk didn't last very long.
The pep talk lasted, it lasted like 3 years.
I know this Frankie. To Frankie, so glad you realized you were gay and you get to be your truest self for the rest of your life.
To Frankie.
Wow, that closet was more than a metaphor, huh? That's rough. Do I know this person?
No, you have not.
I've never met this person.
You've never met this Frankie.
That's super tough.
Yeah. Whew. What a way to find out.
Yeah.
So my story about Frankie is a little bit older. We actually lived together in college, and we would throw really big house parties our sophomore year, to the point where we could like pay our rent by charging $5 at the door. We'd have like hundreds of people come in and out. We'd go through like 4 or 5 kegs throughout the course of the night. We would try and throw like one a month with the intention of paying our rents. So it's a lot of people we didn't even know at these parties. And they would usually get like really like out of hand and pretty crazy like very quickly. But it was always kind of Frankie's job to be like the peacemaker He'd usually stay like the most sober out of all of us. He'd make sure like there wasn't too much damage to our apartments. He'd be the one who would kind of keep track of all the money. He'd like do a lot of like the cleaning up in the moments. We would do a lot of like the big fruit punch and like the giant like bins.
Jungle
Hey,
juice.
jungle
Jungle
juice.
Yeah.
College
jungle juice.
I know exactly what Frankie called that shit.
So there were like multiple parties where there's like these drunk college kids throwing up bright red all over our walls,
My
and
God.
Frankie's just there with a bucket and sponge, like doing his due diligence, trying to get the stains out, breaking up fights. We had this really big Halloween party though once. And everyone was, later into the evening, everyone's really intoxicated and everyone's doing keg stands. And this one particular keg that we stupidly had placed right next to the stairs,
Oh man, this is gonna end
this
well.
man in a full-size Pikachu costume, the kind you would like rent from a costume store.
Keg stands on hard mode.
Keg stands on hard mode. None of us knew who this person was, but he's very drunk. He does a keg stand successfully, except when he lands, he stumbles and tumbles like head over ass down an entire flight of stairs that goes kind of down into our foyer area.
Oh jeez.
And it was almost like the like record scratch, like the music stops and everyone's just like looking down the stairs to see if he's like even moving. Like we were really concerned he'd like broken his neck and he was dead. So Frankie runs down there. Once again, he's the most sober out of all of us. And Pikachu is like conscious, but not doing so well. And his like a bone in his leg, I'm not even sure which one, was like sticking out of the skin. Like you could like the Pikachu costume had been pulled up and you could see like the shin like broken. So it's like 1 a.m. and we're like, fuck, what are we gonna do? Like all of us are like underage at this point. A lot of us are, we can't like call an ambulance and the cops to this party. Like what's about to happen? And Frankie, like without even asking, like picked him up on his shoulder, carried him about a block away from the party, and then with his cell phone called an ambulance, like the police ambulance, to a random house he just stopped in front of. And then he left semi-conscious, like broken leg ass Pikachu on the front lawn of this random house, and then walked across the street and just watched until the ambulance pulled up and took this person, and then just strolled back to the party. And he like filled us in afterward, and he was the hero of the night. And
Jesus Christ.
that's how I'll always remember Frankie.
This is where I cue an officer and a gentleman's music. Wow.
Yeah, we never know what happened to that Pikachu, if he made it to the Pokemon Center in time or not.
Nurse
We'll never
Joy,
know.
get a little super potion on that. Fix it right up. Is that what they're called? Super potions?
Yeah, a revive.
Oh yeah, probably a max
At,
revive
at
on
that
that
point,
one.
yeah, it's a full restore.
You know what? Just send it back to the computer.
But I do remember that was one of the highest money-making nights we had. So for what it's worth, I think we made like $2,600 in one night.
I'm assuming you
Paying
did
rent.
not cover Pikachu's hospital bills.
Oh, absolutely not.
None of us even knew who he was. like it was me and 3 roommates, and none of us had any idea who this person was. It was just a random like dude. There were like over 100 people in and out of our apartment throughout the course of the night.
You know what? To Frankie, he's always looking out for the public good, I guess.
To Frankie.
Who does what needs to be done. Gotta catch them all.
They're not gonna catch themselves.
All right. So now we resolve the coda.
Yeah.
Frank date 4.62114. Vigilante justice is misconstrued on the dangerous streets of a big city.
The Frankie unit has obtained control over younger humans. His ability to bend Elliot's psyche to his will is unparalleled. Grape.
Mine is. Shotguns are good for anything except love. Discovery from wrong decisions are effective but not recommended.
Mine is simply, Subject Frankie should have been the captain of this ship.
Oh, that's very good. Take no prisoners, Frank. Shit.
All right. Let's come up with a final entry.
I know
would
this is
not
the
even do it.
exact same thing I said last time, but like when you make a conglomerate of all of Frankie's stories, it's like Frankie doesn't give a fuck.
It does tend to be very chaotic, doesn't it? Because you're seeing like a multifaceted human being,
Right.
And it just makes
Yeah.
it seem makes Frankie seem like a very chaotic person.
Yeah, Frankie's all the fuck over the place.
Frankie's figuring out some shit.
Yeah. I think of this a lot about Frankie learning about himself.
Yeah, because the commando thing, he thought he was trying to
He thought he was a badass. And then
manifest some sort of
"Whoa."
badassness. Yeah. So like between the wedding and the Halloween and the theater thing, that was like a test of what they thought they were, and the confrontation of what the reality was.
Yeah, I think we end on a hopeful note. I think we're all glad that Frankie has learned from his mistakes.
Yeah, Frankie turns out to be responsible in the end.
Yeah.
It's the lead
Thank
champion.
God, Frankie.
Frankie got his shit together by the end of this.
Yeah, he's a good ringleader, even though the experiment was a little controversial.
Hey, you know what? You can't make an omelet without breaking a few Frankies.
That's what he used to always say. That's how Frankie justified all of his horrible experiments.
And all of his breakfast.
That can be the line. You can't make an omelet without breaking a few Frankies.
All right, that's it. I
Oh,
like it.
that's good.
Okay.
I like that Alice is sort of grinning to herself on that one too. Like, I've picked up human idioms now.
Do you want to read it? Because I don't know if anyone besides you and I can read my handwriting.
I think Sean's got the AI.
Yeah,
voice.
Sean, you got a good
you
You
robot
want me to do
voice.
Alice?
Can you?
Yeah.
All right.
I
Good
can do all
luck.
of it as Alice.
Good luck with my handwriting.
Frankie date 4.62114. Vigilante justice is misconstrued on the dangerous streets of a big city. The Frankie unit has obtained control over younger humans. His ability to bend Elliot's psyche to his will is unparalleled. Grape. Shotguns are good for anything except love. Discovery through wrong decisions are effective, but not recommended. Subject Frankie should
Should have.
We're gonna have a long talk about your handwriting after this.
Subject Frankie should have burned.
Ben. I told you.
Subject Frankie should have been the captain of this ship. You can't make an omelet without breaking a few Frankies.
I warned you to be honest.
Amazing.
Do you want to try and read it with an AI?
That last line sounds like when you have AI try to like learn something by feeding it a bunch of like movies.
Right.
Or whatever. It's like it just starts mixing things without actual sense.
That's what the last line should be. That's how you can describe it.
Love it. All right, so now we're in the post-coda. We can either choose a player or we can randomly choose a player. So I will randomly choose a player. I'm gonna someone roll a d4. Cass will be 1 going clockwise. Sean's 2, I'm 3, makes 4.
All right.
It landed in
What is
your
it?
book.
It landed in the book.
Kind of a 2.
It's a 2.
All right, Sean.
Yes.
You will be acting as Alice. Roll a d12 and read aloud the scenario that you're in.
Okay. You are Frankie, awakened from early deep sleep and controlling Alice remotely. As Frankie, you may jettison anyone you wish based on the stories shared. Fuck. Throw me the book.
This book.
Who fucked me?
You send yourself out.
Yeah.
You told us that you pee-peed all over the place.
Yeah, Sean's gotta go.
Yeah. I think Sean Hildner has to go on this one. That's an embarrassing story. Really didn't actually learn anything from that one, huh?
You learned how fast camouflage dries.
Literally, the month after that, Frankie got a tattoo of a barcode across the back of his neck like the Hitman video game monster. Frankie is going to jettison Sean out the ship, pretending to be Alice, and then sneak back into his cryo chamber and pretend to wake up with the rest of them. I don't know what happened to Sean.
Yeah, the last thing I remember Sean saying was how you peed your pants. So that happened.
Oh, weird. He's floating out there right now.
Alice has had these random deletions in the middle of our hypersleep.
Yeah, our logs are missing.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was a good one.